In this video, I'm going to show you how to play through your first 10 cycles in Oxygen Not Included to set yourself up for success so that you can easily push through into the mid and late game and keep your fancy little dupes alive. For the sake of these 10 cycles, I want to kind of outline what I'm hoping to accomplish. We're going to get our first 2 research stations set up and ready to rock and roll so that we can push through the early and mid game research. Then I want to make sure that we get the basic room set up, which includes a bedroom, a bathroom, and a mess hall, so that we get our morale bonuses for the dupes from those specific rooms. We're going to make sure that we get ourselves a little food pit set up for our ration box where it can sit in some carbon dioxide so that it doesn't spoil quite as quickly. Then I'm going to set up a farm that can permanently sustain 5 duplicates using the printing pod. We're going to make sure that we get some oxygen being created with basic little power manual generator and power supply. We'll also cover the early research that I recommend taking. And that's, I think, pretty much it for the most part. The first thing I like to do when I spawn in is I'm going to want to look for specific things. I have a look at what we have for algae, because obviously that's what we're going to use for our early game oxygen supply. Your oxalite is what's currently off-gassing oxygen, so we want to make sure that we don't dig that up and we let that expel oxygen for as long as possible. The copper that we see laying around, we're going to need to get into, because that's what we're going to use to be building our buildings early game. And we also need to be securing some form of water supply here, because this is what's going to take us into the mid game where we can actually start to explore and, you know, where you get to find your renewable water source, hopefully. The first buildings that you always want to look to get set up, in my opinion, are toilets. Toilets are the most important building to get set up early, because of all the things that you'll see here, you know, they're going to be able to breathe. They're not going to get overstressed. They're not going to starve to death. The one thing they will do on cycle 1 is they will go to the bathroom all over your floor. So we make sure we get that done. So I'm going to start with just digging out a row in one direction. And for my bathrooms, I always like to put an extra down, but it's not 100% necessary. And then we want to get some wash basins in front of the bathroom so that they can be washing their hands after they do their business. Now, the door for the bathrooms, because we're going to be enclosing it at some point, so we'll say that the door is going to be here. So I'll just put a tile marker here so that I know where that's going to be. A lot of times you can design your digs so that you don't actually have to build all your walls around them to get your room bonus. We do want to take this and set the directions to left, because they don't need to be washing their hands on both directions. For the printing pod farm that I'm going to set up, which I recommend you do as well, it's going to require a bit of space around the printing pod. So we want to not build too close, because we're going to need something kind of like this-ish. And then again, 2 over here with something 3 around here, and then something like that. So there'll be 3 here as well, and then 2 down here. Like I was saying, I believe this is going to be able to sustain 5 duplicates indefinitely for thousands of cycles. As long as you have access to water, 5 duplicates will never starve. So I highly recommend this as a way to future-proof yourself through the beginning and mid-game. The next thing we're going to look at constructing is going to be our beds. So for the beds, we need to pick a spot that we want to put them. But before we do that, I want to look at how we're going to access this water. And I want to make sure that we're accessing this water in a way that's not going to allow any, you know, stuff to fall in it. So let's say if we dug maybe 3 down this way. And then maybe we do something like this. I like to kind of do my stuff a little bit snaky early game because I don't want stuff falling and going places that it shouldn't be. But before we do this, we're going to go ahead and find a spot to stick the beds. I'm going to just dig maybe 3 tiles-ish so that we can get a little bit more done. 4 tiles high is usually the standard room, but then, you have to be able to access that top tile. And early game, it requires a little bit more digging. So for the sake of this, this beginner's guide, we will try to keep our work to a minimum. And our ladder will need to be somewhere around here. All right, well, let's see if we can get these beds down before the end of the cycle. Maybe not. That's all right. They'll have a sore back. They'll be okay. Actually, I think I'm going to do this a little bit differently. We'll put the room there. In theory, we could just put a block here, and then we would have our room done. And then we want to get into our research as soon as possible. So let's clear a little spot for that. And we can come up here. Now, the other thing that I like to do is we're going to come in and we're going to turn off the disinfect because that's not really an issue for the moment. We've now completed the latrine and the barracks, so we're getting +1 morale for both of those. So we can mark that off of the list. We're also going to be extending 2 beds into our barracks shortly. And let's decide where we want to put our... We can put our research maybe somewhere up here. Now, sometimes I will avoid removing specific plants, and I'll just, come through here and I'll just set everything on like auto harvest. We're going to need the seeds for our farm anyways here, so I'm not too worried about that for the moment. And for oxygen, we've got 3,800 kilos of algae, and we're running about 1,800 grams. Down here is a little bit lower. Carbon dioxide is pretty good for the moment. For our food pit, we want to get this into somewhere that it can sit in some carbon dioxide. So I'll need to keep an eye open for a convenient location. And I want to get into my research right away here. Going to put the oxygen on the end. So we'll go something like that. Power, battery, oxygen. We're going to wire. We're going to run our wires in the tile to try to mitigate any decor penalties. And then for research, we're going to start with food, and we're going to go straight to our electric grill. We're going to need to clear out the rest of this here. 3 tiles for that. Now, because I like to make everything look sort of uniformed, I'm going to close a lot of this here. Have another 2 beds in here, so we'll make that 4 tiles bigger. Bring this over, something like that, maybe. Yeah, why not? Get into our water here. I'm trying to think of how I want to run my water. So let's say we're going to have a pitcher pump somewhere in here. And then we're going to make 2 little walls so that stuff doesn't go inside of it. And then let's say we do something like this, maybe. Something like this with something like that. That should be good for the time being. For blueprints, coal or snazzy. Coal I would say is good, but yeah, we'll go with the coal. I like to get the primo garbs, but I also don't want to... I like to get the primo garbs, but there's so much fluff on the ground right now that I don't think it's really going to make a difference. I want to also start collecting all of these bristle blossoms for our little bristle blossom farm that we're going to be putting together in a moment. And I'm not sure how many seeds we're going to have, but we'll have to look at that. We also need to put some place for them to eat. We'll put that maybe up here. Oh, they just keep digging away down here so we can get access to our water. It wouldn't have been bad to get to the water a little bit earlier, but it's not the end of the world. Everybody's happy. We have food. We have oxygen, bathrooms and whatnot. So I would like to get the farm set up before we get to the 10th cycle. So I need to try to focus on that. And then I don't have a spot for this. Let's put this just anywhere at this point. Let's put it right here, whatever. Okay, so our wash basins are getting filled up, which is good. These guys walking through here, stopping wet or whatever every time they come through, or cold, whatever it is. Soggy feet, sorry. That's not good, so we'll need to mop that up shortly, but they can use the mopped water and they can bring it up. All right, so now we've unlocked our farm tile, so we can go ahead and put together our bristle blossom farm, which looks just like that. A lot of people will, will put research around here, and unless there's a very specific reason that you're doing it, because there's a reason why this isn't working for you early game to set up an early farm around it. The farm beats the research hands down. I've done another video on this where we scienced through all the numbers, and you're literally going to save like a couple seconds early game to put a research setup around this, opposed to having a permanent food supply for 5 dupes that requires no power, creates no heat, and just lasts forever as long as you have water. So I recommend doing it this way, unless there's a very specific reason why you're not doing it. So we'll go ahead and pull that box out of there. We'll want to mop this up. Too much liquid, he says. Okay. So we might be able to actually just dump it in. We'll deconstruct that tile so they can dump it. And then now that that's done with the food here, the next 2 options that I recommend are going to be power and colony development to get to supercomputers. Medicine, you don't need this right away. Liquid and gases, you're going to want soon, but not necessarily right now. Decor, we don't need the lighting because we have light for our food. This is a non-essential this second, and obviously the automation stuff isn't that big of a deal. Other things that we're going to want soon is going to be the rock crusher, because before we break into the tier 2 research on some of this stuff, we're going to need refined metals in order to even build it. So it's no point in knowing how to make it if you don't even have the ability to use the materials that you require. Once this empties out some of the water, we should be able to mop it up just like that. And then we're going to go ahead and get this back here right away because I don't want anything contaminating our water supply. Oxygen is good. 6 tons of algae. Did I click my research? I don't think I did. There we go. And then I also want to get these in right away, because the sooner we get them growing and planted, the sooner we have food coming in. Our mess table is unlocked, so we're going to be able to go ahead and get our room, which is going to give us our +3 on the mess hall, which is very good for a morale bonus. And then if we have time, I'll get them to start cleaning up all the floors so that we can get rid of all this negative decor penalty that's coming off of the floor here. Now, this is not getting treated like it should, so I'm just going to up the priority to make sure that our batteries are getting kept full. All right, so now that we have this, we've got 7 bristle blossoms. We're going to plant. We're just going to copy settings, and we're going to paste them all on here. So as this sits, we should have 15 plants here. 3, 6, 9, 10, 11, 4. So we got 15 plants. So this, even uncooked, can permanently sustain our 3 dupes here. Once we start cooking this in the grill, we're only going to need 3 of them per dupe. And so we will be able to permanently sustain 5 dupes for as long as we want, indefinitely, with no power or heat requirements. You never want to mess with your shine bugs. These things are golden creatures to have access to. They, you can eventually, if you leave them wild, you can, put them in specific rooms and they will just reproduce themselves wild. So the more of these things you get, the better. So when you find them, keep them alive and try to put them where you need them. Let's go ahead and get our, supercomputers are not done yet. And we're also going to need some more bristle blossom seeds. We can find some. We got 1 up here. We got 2 up here. All right, let's get up here. And what do we got in here? We got 1 in here. We need to get this done as well. Actually, as soon as this research thing is done, we're going to take a pause on the research so that we can free up our other guy for some labor here. So for duplicate skills, The big stuff early that I recommend is going to be grilling and research, simply because grilling is going to give us the use of the electric grill, which is like essential. And then advanced research is going to give us the use of supercomputer, which is essential too. So we basically need both of those for survival and research progression at this point. You know, there's obviously lots of other good things, you know, digging and operation and all sorts of whatnot. Keeping in mind too that even for duplicates that you don't have doing your research, that points in science, which you get from these, right? +2 science, +2 science, +2 science, and +2 science down here, give bonuses to how fast they learn all skills. So even if your duplicate is never going to be your researcher, simply by them getting these free points in science is going to increase the rate at which they learn and level up all of their other skills. So science points are always good, regardless of how you deal with it. Another thing that you can keep in mind when you're picking skills is you always want to, I mean, their interest obviously is important because it's kind of a free for the morale cost, right? But the other thing long term is where your duplicates are going to be. So people that are going to be cooking are probably going to be sitting in your base. And so you always want to kind of match up, you know, what that duplicate will be doing long term. And don't have a guy who's, you know, going to be stuck in your base all the time. You know, don't pair him with skills that are going to send him out into La La Land. You know, maybe your cook or your dedicated cook doesn't need to be super hard digging out and, you know, in the magma biome or wherever, you know, down in the oil areas and stuff like that. Anyhow, so we're going to get our grilling and then we're going to pull research just because we need it. This guy doesn't have really anything. We could put our research on this guy instead and then take advantage of this morale here and put him on operating. And then Steve, yeah, so it's because Steve doesn't really have any early morale to grab, or interest, I should say, we'll just put him on the research and he should be hitting it in 101 skill points. If ever you find yourself running out of food early game, always keep in mind that all these little buried objects, a lot of this is muck root. And so it's very a viable strategy to just aggressively dig for muck root to just feed your colony. And you would be very surprised at how effective that is. That's our last skill point that we were looking for on Steve. What did I say we needed? It was research, I believe. And then I would really like them to get over here so we can get our mess hall up and running. All right, so now that research is done, we're not going to touch that for a minute. Get our supercomputer up and running. Skill scrubber, mini pod, and telescope. The only thing I really want to have happen right now is I want to get our mess hall up and I want to get our printing pod together. The mess hall is going to be over here. Furniture. We'll put something over here. I'm kind of planning around 5. So if you've seen, I'm leaving room for 5 beds, 5 stuff. And then here we're going to be pushing for 5 more bathrooms. Because 5 is our golden number for sustainability off of this food source or food supply. So I know that I will be able to, this will handle 5. So I'd like to get to that point. This room, we don't need an end wall for the moment. We're just going to make it small so that it's fast to put together. Anything good here? All right, so we've got destructive. I'm not a fan of destructive stress reaction personally. This guy, agriculture, construction, a free digging, tier 3 digging, without the drawbacks, good. Decreased athletics, no. Germ resistance, light to sleep, germ resistance, destructive, supplying, tidying, rocketry, with destruction. And then rust is kind of a no-brainer for us. So usually what I would do now is either I would take none of them. We do have the calories and the ability. This may help me meet my goal, which I'm what I'm trying to get to here. Both of these are going to give us strength and carrying capacity. Now, eventually what we would want to do is we would want to move all of this water together. So we would basically dig this out and then have to add the water into one big pit. I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to find enough bristle blossom here, or if I'm going to have to continue. Give me my bristle blossoms. I want to see what kind of numbers I'm getting. That was an extra 3, I think. And then the other thing that we're going to need right away is the grill. I'm not breaking into any polluted water, any slime at this point. So we'll dig ourselves a spot here. All right, order. Let's get them to start focusing on some specific tasks. So our mess hall is done. So we've got our +3 to morale off of that one. And then, of course, we've got the other 2 as well. These blocks here are not a necessity. No food. Get this grill up and running. We got meal wood. We got 3 more bristle blossoms up there. That 3 should be enough. And I got 2 right here. Okay, let's see what we actually have regarding numbers. I want these guys to fill all the spots. So we need 3 more. So if we come down here, we get 2. If we go up here, we get all 3, but it's further. Do we have a choice? Not really, I don't think. So let's get these 3 ASAP. All right, so let's get priority this a little bit higher. And then let's look at uprooting these things right away. And there's another little shine bug up there. We've got some free calories sitting around. Not too worried about it. Everything's in order for the most part. We've got 8 tons of algae, sleeping arrangements, 4 bathrooms, 4 dupes, oxygen, 1,400, 1,500 grams, pretty consistent all the way around. Small amount of carbon dioxide, which is sitting down here. Once they get this. Oh, what do we have here? Cool slush geyser. So that's like hitting the jackpot as far as geysers go. And it's actually fairly close to the start area. I don't have any plans on continuing with this colony after, but I may push this and do another one and push the beginner guide a little bit further. Maybe do another episode of, cycle 10 to 20 or something like that. But if you find a cool slush geyser that's fairly close to your starting area, that would be definitely ideal. Once we get these plants secured, I will probably continue to dig down here, but we would have to maybe move the water before we dug too far down. So we come down a couple and then funnel this water into kind of a bigger pit. All right, so we've got 2. And then if these guys aren't doing anything, you can dig here while we're waiting. Now, research-wise, we do want to keep the research going, but I wanted to keep my dupe labor. I'm more concerned about getting my farm set up right now because food and oxygen are obviously our lifelines. We have the water, so... And then we can also go ahead and create a bit of a dumping pile, which I'll do as well. And a great way to do that is we're basically just going to hide it in a pit here. How do I want to do it? Do we put it here? Yeah, we can put it in here. It's fine. All right, so let's say we deconstruct those. Actually, it'd probably be more convenient over here somewhere. Let's not worry about that in a second. Come on, guys. Get me my stuff, please, and thank you. Did I get my plants? Oh, maybe they did grab my plants. Irrigation. So all the plants are in. They're just not being watered. This is sitting in our carbon dioxide, so that's a sterile environment. Now, in order to build out this spot here, we could tunnel down, because when we move this water into here, we're going to need a little bit more room. So my thought process is we come in down this side to prevent opening this up for contamination. And then we dig it out a little bit. And then we clear out a section here to dump all that water into here. Now, if I didn't mention it, I'm only putting in 1 battery and manual generator. because of the power leaks and the fact that we're creating heat. So that's all I'm doing now for the early game. But this one generator and battery can actually get you a lot further than you would expect. And if we wanted, we would maybe wall this off and then toss one of those shine bugs in here. So we're about to hit our 10th cycle, and then we'll have a look at where we are and if we met all of the goals, which I think we're pretty close to. So we can see that these guys are idle right now. So what we would probably do is we would just continue to dig out. We have research that's happening. We could prepare for our 5th guy by coming in here and deconstructing that. We're going to need to basically push that back a touch. And then I would also try to look at the garbage situation. And we would solve that by, let's say, coming in here somehow. Say we dug basically, I don't know, maybe a hole like that. And we put a storage bin in here and dug this to deconstruct that. So as soon as these things grow, we want to basically queue our food recipes on forever. This is up and running. And the other thing I would set up is a carbon skimmer loop early. I have a video on that if you're not familiar with what that is. Here, we're going to go all standard sweep only. And then we're going to issue sweep commands on low priority. On like priority 1. And then they're going to just bring it in here and fill. But we don't want to sweep inside here, though. And then basically, when this gets full, we're just going to come back and we're going to hit the all standard, and it's going to dump everything on the ground. And because we have it set lower, that is going to help hide the decor penalty because the tiles are hiding it from view. And we want to keep our dupes in the best decor situation as possible. Because they get the morale bonus at the beginning of the cycle based off of their average decor that they're living in the day before. So we can go ahead, if they're good, and pick another duplicate here. The farts produce natural gas. It's not the worst, but I'm not a fan of it. With the narcoleptic and the calories, I'm going to say this guy is a huge no-no. He has amazing doctoring level, but I mean, doctoring is not really that useful. And then over here we've got a 13 to agriculture. Usually if you see them and they have like only one interest, it'll be a lot higher, but if they have multiple interests, it'll be lower. Starry-eyed morale bonus while in space. Not too concerned about that either. So I'm not a fan of these guys. Basically leaves us with the primo garb, which is going to give the duplicate, I believe it's like a 3 wide decor bonus all the way around that. If you're curious about decor or the best clothing for decor, I have videos on that as well that you can check out. Let's just go with the calories for now. We're about to enter into our 10th cycle. So I'll play out the 10th cycle, and by the night time, we will end and see where we're at. So for research, we basically can do anything we want at this point. I would start working towards a carbon skimmer as well as a water sieve. Like I said, the carbon dioxide forces you to aggressively dig down. And if you don't want to have carbon dioxide constantly creeping up on you, it's good to clear it out. And because you can create easy carbon dioxide loops that last forever, you just preload them with water and you feed them into a water sieve. And so if we check the decor, you can see here that we have a huge negative decor, minus 79. And you see like all this is coming from the debris, because the debris, I believe, is -1 each. And then as it's cleaning it up, we are slowly, getting control over it. Lots of plants actually have provide minor decor bonus. The shine bugs are giving decor bonuses as well. And because this is all going in here, we're going to hide all of it because that decor, as you can see how here it's not shining up. We got -13, -9. And then in here, we come down a little bit to see our decor -28, -58 from debris, etc. So it's gonna slowly just kind of clean all this. Get that up. Research is getting done here. How's our food? We're sitting on 2,200 calories, which is great. The majority of the calories are muck root by the looks of it. Go ahead and empty this again. So the only thing with this is like when you're doing your sweep, you can't sweep at the bottom of the container because that will create like an endless loop of them picking it up and putting it back in. So you don't want to do that. These guys are almost finished growing. Our research is good. Airflow tiles, skill scrubbers. So I mean, clothes. I do recommend clothes. I know not everybody does it, but they're a great way, especially once you get bathroom fed thimbleweed farms. They're about to go to sleep here in a minute. All right, I'm actually gonna do something a little silly here just so that I can get this done for the sake of my guide here. I'll keep them away. They don't need to sleep to... Oh, no. Too soon. All right, there we go. All right, well, this is the end of cycle 10. Now, as long as they usually hit the bed before, they will continue to sleep until they replenish their stamina. They don't actually require all of their blocks usually to do that. But I won't get too much into that. This was a little bit of a silly thing, but I could have just had them build that during the day rather than keep these guys up during the night. But let's have a look at where we stand at cycle 10. So we're going to end it here. Right now we have 15 bristle blossom plants set up. And as I've stated, this is free light and no power requirements, no heat created. So this setup here will permanently support 5 duplicates for thousands of cycles. As long as you have water, it doesn't matter. So this is good here. We have 5 beds, even though we have 4 duplicates. We have the ability to cook our food here, which is imperative to have it work. You would be cooking it into gristleberry, and that would show up here as soon as we had some of them pop up. And then you would just set it on a forever cycle as well. And we have 5 bathrooms and 5 mess tables. We have an early game water supply here with room for expansion. We have a never-ending storage, and we have a sterile atmosphere food storage as well. So you can, just have this to continue to sweep, to pick up all your stuff, have all your food in here. And then you're pretty much good to go. We're sitting on 8.9 tons of algae and pretty solid 1,500 grams-ish low carbon dioxide. And if I were to continue at this point, I would be pushing into water skimmer with a water sieve as well. Sieve or sieve? I'm not sure how it's properly pronounced. Anyways, and then I would set up a little loop down here somewhere just to ensure that the carbon dioxide never got out of control. But that's pretty much it. This can sustain 5 duplicates. And I would argue that not indefinitely, obviously, because you would run out of water here eventually, right? We would come up here and have to tap into a renewable water source, as you have to do during every colony. But you are in a perfect situation here to complete all of the 2-tier technologies on the list. You could complete that entirely. As long as you didn't push out past 5 duplicates, they'll never starve. You have bathrooms are good to go. We got 54 tons of dirt, so that's a no-brainer. We accomplished all of our rooms. We got the research done. We've got the skills on the dupes and everything. So this is in my mind, a perfect first 10 cycles to get started on this style of asteroid. And if you can accomplish something like this during your beginner game, the world is your oyster. From this point, you can accomplish anything that you want. And I hope that it's been helpful and that you've had the opportunity to learn something. If you need any further clarification on the printer pod farms or carbon skimmer loops, decor stuff, all that good stuff, make sure to check out my channel. I do have some videos that explains that more in detail. Otherwise, thank you guys so much for watching. Like the video, subscribe, comment if you have questions, and I'll see you guys on the next video. Thanks.